Big ideas and voices clear. 𝗪𝗂𝗃𝗃𝗃2, bringing the best straight to you. X-Engage, turn the page, ignite the stage. Learn, grow, feel the spark, make every moment leave a mark.
Hi, I'm 𝗪𝗵𝗁𝗵𝗽𝗃, a certified customer experience professional with over 30 years of experience in all things CX. Welcome to the X-Engage podcast, where we bring you insights from industry C experts, exploring actionable strategies to elevate customer experience and drive real business impact. Whether you're a CX leader, practitioner, professional, or just passionate about customer experience, this podcast is for you. Let's dive in. Welcome to X-Engage with 𝗪𝗵𝗁𝗵𝗽𝗃, the podcast where every interaction counts. We don't just discuss customer experience, we challenge, explore, and transform it. I'm your host, 𝗪𝗵𝗁𝗵𝗽𝗃, and in this series, I sit down with global change makers, CX pioneers, and hand-selected experts who are redefining how businesses connect with their customers. At XMY Solutions, we believe quality over quantity. It's not about producing more conversations, but having the right conversations. This is a space of high-impact discussions and where we drive meaningful change in the global experience management context. Today's guest needs no introduction. We're honored to welcome Henk Brigman, a globally recognized pioneer in customer experience management and the father of touchpoint metrics and the author of Touchpoint Power, Get and Keep More Customers. Henk has helped countless organizations redefine their customer interactions by optimizing every single touch point in the customer journey, and has also helped clients and companies help move their companies forward beyond touch point metrics. In this episode, we'll explore the evolution of customer experience and the role of touchpoints building loyalty, but also how businesses can avoid the common pitfalls of CX strategies, the impacts of digital transformation and AI on human-centric experiences, and then the big debate, is NPS still the gold standard? If you're a CX professional, a business leader, or passionate about elevating customer experiences, this is the conversation that goes beyond surface level insights. Let's dive in. Welcome, Henk. We're so happy to have you here on our first episode with Henk Brigman.
Honored to be a guest at your inaugural podcast. Thank you so much. So looking forward to this conversation.
Henk, what led you to pioneer touchpoint metrics, and what problem were you solving?
Well, Debbie, I played a little golf professionally and then got into managing fine private clubs, which I think is one of the toughest customer experience environments there is. I mean, you pay $50,000 for the right to join a club and $500 a month, and then you still have to pay $10 for your burger. So needless to say, the customers in that environment, the members, if you will, have extraordinarily high expectations. And I came to understand the importance of the impact of every interaction. And I started in the fine private club industry, really to start to develop my touch point ideas, my touch point concepts, and understanding that the problem really was inconsistency across interactions or across touch points. So after leaving the club industry, I realized that this problem really extended to every business. And so co-founded Touchpoint Metrics, which is really early research consultancy in the customer experience space. We developed an early mapping methodology where we mapped individual touch points. And really this was fascinating work early on. And it was then that I added the word touch point to Wikipedia. And so if you're a little tired or you really enjoy the word touch point, perhaps I deserve some of that blame or some of that credit. But anyway, my definition today, because it has evolved over time, my definition of a touch point today is each human communication, physical, and sensory interaction with, within, and about your organization. And so simple explanation, simple definition. I'm often asked, one word, two words, touch point. One word, touch point. So that was early on. We sold Touchpoint Metrics to private equity, and I got out and started consulting and speaking. I've had the great honor and pleasure of giving keynotes to conferences on 5 continents. I developed an original formula for correlating Net Promoter Score to top-line revenue. We can certainly get into that at some point. I started writing Touchpoint Power, my book, and then went in-house at a Fortune 10 company where I was able to apply some of my consulting ideas to the reality of being in-house. Interestingly, applying my Net Promoter Score formula to that organization, we found that every point increase or decrease in Net Promoter Score was worth $7.6 million to top-line revenue for that organization.
That's unbelievable. Hank, you've emphasized that we need to shift the focus from the latest shiny object, whether it's AI, digital transformation, or channel strategy, to what truly matters, understanding customer journeys. Why is this shift critical?
Well, it's really a shift in focus, Debbie, because naturally, our organizations have focus. And one of the challenges with focus is systemic or organizational, and the other is, to your point, kind of the shiny object of the day. So the systemic focus that's challenging are something we all moan and complain about, and that's silos. So we have our department head, we have our teams, we have our metrics, we have our tools, all of it within our silo, and our focus often is within that silo, and yet customers often traverse into, through, and out of our silos. And so that lack of vision sometimes up and downstream can really create a problem. And then to your point, channel strategy, digital transformation, AI, these things are shiny and they're exciting. But let me share an analogy that I hope will kind of drive home my thoughts here. If you're a customer and you want a house built, you hire a builder and you provide them with a blueprint. And the blueprint is what you want. You want the end result of the blueprint. And the builder now needs to fulfill on your purpose, which is the blueprint. Now, there are a lot of things that go into building a house, and there are a lot of people that are going to use a lot of tools. But if you think about channels and apps and AI, those are tools. Now, the builder of that house doesn't need a tool strategy. The builder of that house doesn't need to transform tools. The builder of that house needs to meet your purpose, which is to deliver that blueprint. So the shiny objects here typically are tools. Channels are tools we deploy for customers and tools that customers use. And don't get me started on digital transformation. We don't need to transform apps. We need to transform customer journeys. And so the shift in focus needs to be from, our myopic silo view or our focus on shiny tools to really the purpose of our customer journeys. That is the critical thing that we as organizations need to do to really impact and change and improve experiences for our customers, experiences for our employees, and quantifiable metrics that are really important to our organizations.
Hank, as you go through that, I shudder to think how we get distracted by these shiny objects, and we are losing focus. So thank you for aligning us back into that. Now, instead of focusing on the tools, businesses should focus on customer purposes, which is what you said, and how they move through their key journeys. Can you share an example of how this approach has transformed an organization's CX strategy?
Happy to. So I advocate a 3-step process. You need to identify and rename the core or critical or primary customer journeys. You need to build cross-functional journey teams, and you need to evaluate and improve those core or primary journeys. So let's talk about how an organization applied those 3 steps. And also, let's recognize that tools are important. We can't build a house. We can't deliver great customer experiences without tools. We just can't really have them be the focus. But let's talk about identifying and renaming journeys. So I was working with a U.S. Health insurance company. Now, health insurance in the States, as many are aware, are quite different than health insurance in many other parts of the world. So you need to buy your health insurance. And so this company identified their 6 primary journeys, and most organizations have 4, 6, 8, maybe 10 primary customer journeys. And this is really what we need to focus on, at least initially. So they identified those and they renamed them. So an example of one of the journeys they renamed is they needed to collect insurance premiums as part of this health insurance company. Now, they called that team originally payments, or what they did was payments. They collected those payments. Well, when you rename journeys, you rename them from the purpose of the customer. Imagine that. The power of going from payments to whatever the customer is trying to accomplish. Now, in this case, the purpose of the customer paying that premium was to maintain their eligibility for health insurance. And so the name of that journey shifted. It changed inside organizationally from payments to maintain eligibility. And they did this for all 6 of their primary journeys. Rename them from what they did, the myopic focus of what we do, and think about your organization. What do? You sell, you market, you onboard, you do a bunch of things that you do. But that's really not what the customer, that's not the purpose of what the customer is trying to accomplish. So these customers are trying to maintain their eligibility for health insurance, which, needless to say, is a really important aspect in many people's lives. Now, what happened when they changed the name? It changes people's hearts, it changes people's minds, and it changes people's actions. So this organization saw 2 things quantifiably improve. One, first call resolution around collecting payments, or maintaining eligibility, if you will, improved. Secondly, transactional net promoter score, which they did score around these efforts, also improved. Now, there are many in this organization, this is a multi-billion-dollar organization, felt that this name change improved that company's cash flow. So the power of this first step is fascinating in terms of changing names and what it can do. Secondly, the organization developed journey teams. These are cross-functional teams. Now, not everybody in an organization is going to be on a journey team. It's a small team, but it's cross-functional. It breaks people out of that systemic focus, which is silos. So now a team has an owner, they have a manager, and there are a few individuals, and they are responsible and accountable to the success of that journey. So each of these 6 primary journeys, renamed, also have a team. Now, you can't really implement all of these at one time. I wouldn't advise that, but it's good to rename them all and to have owners of each as a starting point. And lastly, then you need to work on the journey and improve the journey, which they did in a couple of steps. Now, so what were the overall quantifiable improvements? Well, I'll give you one that's pretty powerful. So this is a couple of years in, and they've really only they've renamed the 6 journeys. They've applied improvements to one and started on another. They went from the middle of Forrester's CX index, languished there for years, to the #1 position in 2 years after adopting these 3 steps. And this was powerful insight in terms of what it could do to really galvanize efforts, and also had other downstream quantifiable benefits to the organization. Powerful stuff, these 3 steps.
I am blown away. Can you believe, from middle Forrester to top #1 position for these 3 steps, and really renaming and ensuring that everyone along the line goes into the customer success story and not the introspective, payments? That is absolutely powerful. Something so simple, done correctly, can have such a powerful impact. Hank, you mentioned the 3 steps of the journey approach. What are the various options to how organizations can implement these 3 steps?
So great question. Thanks, Debbie. So, there are a couple of ways you can approach it. I mean, there's a really simple and kind of a subjective and quick way of getting to this. And then there's really a more detailed, quantifiable, and it takes a lot longer, but much more quantifiable and detailed. So this organization took the long and detailed and quantifiable approach. They looked at their customer journeys through a jobs to be done methodology for those of you who might be familiar with that. And that's what helped them generate the renaming to really what the customer is trying to accomplish. But, some organizations don't have the time to really go through it, or may not have the inclination, may not have the team, may not have the budget, whatever the case may be. And so there are simple ways. I mean, if you talk to 10 customers around what they're trying to accomplish on an individual journey, you can probably start to get some ideas. And even internally, if you get kind of an internal group together or just do a focus group with customers, there are some simple, more subjective ways of getting to renaming. And then, of course, with renamed journeys, you can develop your teams relatively efficiently. And then there's as you start to look at kind of how to evaluate journeys, I've got a workshop I might share with you later if it's relevant, a quick workshop that can help an organization really look at their these 6 primary journeys and how to look at them through the lens of some of their channels and tools that then give them a foundation for evaluating these journeys. So you can kind of go at it a quantifiable, detailed way or a simple, quick way. Both will get you benefits. And 3 steps, whatever is right for your organization, it's never too late to start.
Sounds like a plan. One question just to add on to that. How do we ensure that every touch point within a journey aligns to the overall customer purpose rather than become fragmented steps along the way?
This is really where this cross-functional accountable team can be so powerful, because they are now outside of the barriers and the parameters and the nature of their silo. Yes, they still have their siloed position. And again, these aren't typically new hires. It's giving additional responsibilities to typically some of your rising stars. And so this team that now has responsible and in best case scenarios, accountability for the success of meeting the purpose of customer journeys should help the organization make sure that they are focused on customer purpose, because that's what that team is all about. What is my customer trying to accomplish in the journey that I'm working on, rather than what am I trying to do in my silo, or what am I trying to get my tool to do? Ooh, it'll do this new whiz-bang thing, but how does that fit into what the customer is trying to accomplish? And so the team aspect, and again, cross-functional, getting people out of their silos, really is powerful in helping the organization and helping these individuals themselves see the downstream, upstream impacts of customer journeys into, through, and out of their typical siloed focus. And so, that helps keep it focused on the customer purpose and not shiny tools or silo needs, etc.
Love the way you position that. For me, it seems like this team is a bridge between the frontline staff and the back office staff, making sure that the customer purpose really comes into the customer success equation. CX is not just the frontline staff's business. It's everyone in the organization's business. And this team are the facilitators or the igniters that are able to bring this together. So Hank, moving on to a little bit of those shiny objects, AI and those digital interactions, with that accelerating at a fast pace right now, what's your take on how businesses should measure CX success beyond NPS?
Well, surprise, surprise. I think they need to measure the success of the customer purposed journeys. Again, that's what we're in business for. What is our business trying to do? For our business to make money, for our business to be successful, we need to generate revenue, which means people need to pay us. For people to pay us, they need to be happy. They need to be satisfied to continue to pay us, or to speak positively about us, or to do things that are best for our business. And so really focusing on purpose and really, again, I go to the power of just the name change, of changing minds and hearts and actions, really lays the foundation for making those internal changes along with the teams that then can create the specific journey changes that can be measured. So when you talk about measuring, I mentioned a workshop earlier. And let me share with you this simple workshop can really powerful. So we've identified, let's say we have 8 primary journeys. You put your primary journeys on one axis, you put your channels and tools on the other axis. And the question becomes, journey 1, in channel 1, can journey 1 be completed start to finish in that channel, yes or no? First question, can we buy? Or whatever the customer is doing. What are they trying to do? So can they complete that in that channel? And if the answer is no, the question is, do we want them to be able to complete it in that channel? And if so, what would it take? So you do this across your journeys and across your channels, and it develops critical outputs that then will eventually help with measuring, and I'll get to that. But the first thing it helps you do is eliminate negative channel shift. Now look, data is unequivocal. Channel shift, bad for the customer, bad for the company. But some channels have to be shifted. You may start in a channel where that organization, you can't finish that journey. So it's not about just channel shift, it's about bad channel shift. And so the output of this helps in several ways. One, it helps you develop communication with your customers that if they're starting in a channel and this is what you're trying to do, you need to shift channels. So if you think about chat, for instance, sometimes in chat, they ask, what are you trying to do? But, that's an opportunity in a technology where it can be relatively easy to help a customer get into the right channel. So that can be a positive channel shift. If I have to go through chat and fight chat and chat with somebody to find out I need to be in a different channel, now that's a negative channel shift. And so one output is the ability then to understand and clearly see, wow, they can't complete this journey in this channel, and yet they try. So we need to do something in this channel communication-wise to get them into the right channel. Then a second output that's really powerful is now we develop a roadmap. And the roadmap now for technology is based on what? Customer purpose, not some shiny thing we want to accomplish. So we want our customers to be able to complete this journey in this channel. So now we have to do things. Now let's get to the measurement part, back to your question. So the beauty here is as we look to make improvements or changes, we're doing it based on customer purpose. Now let's measure our ROI. Before, our customers couldn't complete their journey in this channel, and whatever our measure is, CSAT, effort, net promoter score, whatever the case may be, was this. We've now made our change. We've made a change so that it can be completed, or we've even just done our communication. What has happened to our measurement around that? So now we're measuring around improving customer purpose rather than some other measurements that can take our eyes off the ball. Simple workshop that is extraordinarily powerful on so many levels.
Oh, it sounds like it, Hank. I must say, I am intrigued beyond. And to just see the delta of the before and after, that's what companies want to see. That's why they're going to invest in customer experience projects when you're able to show them the change in ROI. How do you see the role of human interaction evolving in a world increasingly driven by automation?
A lot of that, it's hard to develop kind of a generic answer for that, because a lot of it depends on a business model, depends on your target market, et cetera. So if you're Amazon, nobody talks to Amazon, right? So the automation and the goal of the automation eliminates potentially the need for human interaction. And so, we have to be aware also, if you're targeting selling cool backpacks to college students, well, automation probably is going to be your friend. If you're looking to sell annuities to people over 65, chances are automation's not going to be your friend. So again, business model and your target market all come into this, and we have to be aware of not only sometimes customer purpose, but our customers and kind of what their nature and their inclination is as it relates to channels and the tools they like to use. So human interactions are important, and sometimes we have to realize that the human interactions that our customers have may not be with our employees, may be with one of our partners. So, if it's not an Amazon truck outside, it's a FedEx truck delivering your Amazon goods. So now the human interaction you have may be with a FedEx employee and not Amazon or even the reseller of Amazon. So the combinations and permutations of how all of this can work and how it all can work to the best as it relates to interactions, as it relates to metrics, to me, in my simplistic perhaps way of looking at it, comes back to customer purpose. What are we trying to accomplish? Well, let me rephrase that. What are they trying to accomplish? And how can we help them do so? And where does automation fit into that purpose? And then where do human interactions fit into that purpose? And where can we measure to make sure that we're on the right page?
Well, I love that. Customer focus 101, and everything starts with that. And you keep reminding me. So do you think brands are sacrificing genuine relationships by automating too much?
Great question. And I think, I think human interactions are really important on so many levels. And what's frustrating is when you really want or need a human interaction as a part of your journey, and there are barriers to that. And so, as we look at customer purpose and we look at, where there might be barriers to the smooth nature of achieving customer purpose, are we making the challenges? Are we making the friction based on our needs to try and reduce expenses? Or are we really focusing on customer purpose and trying to make that journey as smooth as possible? And so there are a lot of scales here. But if our focus is on reducing cost, wrong focus. Focus has been a big part of our discussion today, Debbie, and we can't and we shouldn't and we mustn't take our focus off what the customer's trying to accomplish and do what's best for that. Do we need to do so efficiently financially? Absolutely. But when we make friction for our customers to reach the human that they may want or need to reach, we're not making that purpose. We're not helping them on their purpose. We're not removing friction. We're angering them. We're going to reduce some of the satisfaction and likelihood to recommend scores. And it's not good for our business. Was it Peppers and Rogers or Reichheld who talked about bad profits, right? So yeah, we've saved the money today on that expense, but that's a bad profit because it hurts us down the road. And so I think we've got to be mindful of what our focus is. Do we need to be efficient? Yes, but let's be efficient in serving customer purpose.
We're running out of time, and I could talk to you for days and months. I want to ask you this last question. What's the one piece of advice you'd give to companies struggling to improve their customer experience?
The first step is so simple and yet so powerful. Stop talking about what you do. Start talking about what your customer is trying to accomplish. Reframe the verbal and written narrative inside your organization. It changes hearts. It changes minds. It changes actions. It improves your KPIs. Simple, simple, simple.
I'm going to put that on replay over and over and over again, Hank. Where can our listeners find you and your information and your insights and get hold of you for more information, or just start talking and engaging on the subject that has triggered their hearts and minds?
Yeah, customer experience strategies.com is my website. Please connect with me on LinkedIn. I post videos and happy to help it. And look, if you can't tell, I love this stuff. And so if I can help you in any way at all, it would be a gift to me if you reached out. And I would embrace whatever I can do to help you. And LinkedIn, website, phone, knock on the office door. Whatever I can do to help, just reach out.
Thank you so much, the father of Touchpoint and the master of Customer Purpose 101. Keeping that focus in line and keep asking your question, is the customer going to achieve what the customer's purpose is through whatever we develop, whatever we design, and whatever we deliver through excellence? I can't thank you enough for the time that you've spent with us, and I know we will engage further down the line. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you for tuning in to the 𝗀𝗻𝗍 podcast. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so feel free to leave a comment, share your insights, or start a conversation. If you found value in today's episode, we kindly ask that you give us a follow on our social media platforms for more CX content, and subscribe to the podcast below so you never miss an episode. Until next time, keep creating exceptional experiences, one interaction at a time.
Leaders talk, we learn, we grow. Innovation's got that glow. To write in, dive in deep. Insights here are yours to keep. CX dreams shining bright, bringing heart, mind, and life. Every interaction aligned just right. Oh.